This world is made of love and peace.
Love and peace and diabetes.
Greetings, everyone, to the Tomodachi Bros podcast. I am the Hipster Snek, and with me today are my good buddies Jitaku and Cog.
How's it going?
Oh, we're not going to get cool titles like, Cog the Stampede and, Dead-Eye Ditaku.
Oh, jeez. You're already screwing it up now. We're already screwing it up.
We've already ruined everything.
I'm sorry.
That is what we do here. This go-around was a special challenge in retaliation for the Ditaku Diabetes challenge. And so I was basically put in the position of all these shows were shows that I basically should have seen and hadn't up to this challenge.
Yeah, I'm expecting something at the end of this there, Snack. Some kind of like, it rhymes with, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being a hater.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this episode because it's going to be interesting. I know Ditaku and I basically grew up on this one, so
okay. For context, some of this was I just missed some of these shows, and in some other cases, it was just a matter of, well, specifically in case of today's show, Trigun, I actually basically saw first the worst possible episode to start with, which was like episode 18 or 19, like the flashback episode where that explains the entire overarching plot of the show, but it doesn't make any sense if you don't have that context. So that was the worst possible introduction you can possibly get to this show. And of course, that's how I got involved. I was like, oh, well, this is dumb. I don't want to watch this. So I never followed up. Little did I know.
Yeah, you thought it was going to be like Gundam when it's actually about a wacky woohoo donut man and his wacky woohoo donut adventures.
Yeah.
Yes, this show follows Vash the Stampede, a
humanoid typhoon,
a goober who goes around trying his best to save people as best he can, despite the fact that he works on the handicap of he doesn't want to kill people in a space western.
And can I just for a second, like, I love the fake out that the opening does with the song HT playing, and it's just got the heavy bass guitar and everything, and it's just Vash looking really, really cool, and he's just shooting his gun, and then it's just then you actually watch the show and he's just like, this world is love and peace, and it's like, you think seeing the opening is like, oh, this is going to be like Hellsing. He's just going to be like murdering people all over. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
He like kills maybe one person in the entire show.
Yeah, I think he kills like one person, and he feels really bad about it.
Yeah.
Yep. And he literally had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
But we get ahead of ourselves. This show is a space western, as I've said, set on a planet marooned out in the middle of nowhere. That humans...
the planet's name is Gunsmoke, by the way.
Yeah.
I think they mention it like once, but yeah.
And
in the anime, yeah.
All of like once, yeah. So then you have these people who are just trying to get by on this planet that's really not super great for human life. And we follow these insurance girls who work for the biggest insurance company on this planet. We have
Millie. And Meryl.
Yep. Meryl Streep and Millie Thompson. You should know this, Snack. You were like gushing about how their names were references that you got.
No, I did. I was actually having to stop and clear my throat.
Okay. To be perfectly honest and fair to Snack, it's been about 2 months since we last did the last episode. And in that time, Snack and I have watched Keijo. We watched Outlaw Star. We watched Bobobo. And I think we're starting Ultraman Taro. Is that correct?
Yep.
So, yeah, this show is probably not like high on his brain memory list.
Very nice.
Well, no, I remembered the names. I actually had to stop and clear my throat. But Millie is a personal favorite of mine just because she's this really happy-go-lucky, very optimistic person. And Meryl is more the grounded of the two and kind of has to keep her feet on the ground to keep them moving forward. And we start with a misunderstanding of Vash the Stampede. He's a bad guy, you see.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to track him down because obviously our job is insurance. And of course, he wipes out entire cities. So obviously we have to do something about it. And they hear that, he's this enormous man with a mohawk and like evil eyes and all sorts of very interesting and very wrong details.
Evil eyes. He wears red and he carries a gigantic gun. I believe that's the original description they get.
And they do find a man by that description, but it's not Vash. Instead, they end up on the wrong side of a rather unruly gang and get saved by Vash, who is a happy-go-lucky dork. And I have to say, I love him. Vash is amazing.
I thought you would like this show. I was really surprised when you said you hadn't seen it.
Yeah, well, I was kind of surprised when he's like, oh man, I don't like this show. I'm like, because here's the thing to people that aren't aware of Snek. This is going to be some Snek, like, ultra deepest lore. Snek, when he was a wee little, danger noodle, he wrote basically Trigun. He basically wrote Trigun. I'm like, dude, you wrote this story. He really likes like space westerns or like magic westerns. He is a man of the Old West. He was just born 150 years late, or hatched 150 years late. Sorry. I'm being speciesist here.
No, we use the terms interchangeably.
So, yeah, it's just kind of funny to me. And so, yeah, at the end, he's like, this is really, really good. I'm like, uh-huh. What do you need to say? I'm sorry. Like, uh-huh.
I have to apologize to all people with good taste. Again. Again. As was mandated by internet court.
Yes, that still hasn't happened, by the way.
that episode will actually be out by the time this episode is, so that's fine. We'll work around that. Continuity.
But yeah, I actually really like the buildup that they do in these first couple episodes. So like Millie and Meryl don't really think that Vash is actually Vash, but they keep bumping into each other. And I think it's at the episode with the dam and the one guy who's like hoarding water that they both go, yeah, this guy who keeps going, oh no, I swear I'm Vash the Stampede, is actually Vash the Stampede.
Yeah, it takes them a while.
Well, I mean, given what they understand versus who Vash actually is, it's just kind of a matter of, wait, that guy? Really?
Yeah, it's something I love about. I even going back and rewatching this, I love also just how it's like it wraps you in. Like if you're one of those people that haven't seen Trigun yet, it's like I enjoy how it's like going back and watching it. Like for the first several episodes, you don't get that it's like space western.
Oh yeah,
you just like it's like a western. And then the space element comes in like later on when you start realizing you're like, wait, what? You know what I mean? And it kind of it's kind of like a surprise as it builds into it.
When they start introducing the plants and like this superhuman technology, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because you think it's going to go one way, it goes a completely different way, and all the characters are super entertaining. I'm gonna be mostly gushing about this show because I grew up on it, so it was one of the earlier animes that I watched.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one, Cog. I mean, and for those of you who haven't seen it, I know that there's kind of a meme about 90s dubbing sucks, but it's like, I don't know. When they knocked it out of the park, they really knocked it out of the park, and I think this is one of the ones I would say alongside Outlaw Star that is really, honestly, it's better as the dub, considering how literally it's a made by a Westaboo for an old West setting.
This was, I think, Johnny Young Bosch's like first, like one of his most iconic dubbing roles earlier on, wasn't it?
It's one of his earliest ones, I believe, because I think he was not too long. It was only a couple of years after his stint on Power Rangers.
Yeah, that
he started dubbing anime.
Let me check that just so we're not spreading false information. Yeah, no, you're right. Adult Vash is Johnny Amash. Yeah, this is like 1998. Yeah.
Yep.
Good stuff.
And I mean, this thing I started kind of at the beginning of this one, and it's it captured me, and rewatching it again was just a lot of fun. It's a funny show. A lot of the show we go through following, of course, Vash, Meryl, and Millie as they're going across Gunsmoke and getting into trouble for a lot of the earlier episodes, and then until we get introduced to kind of our main antagonists, Knives, who turns a Million Knives.
Million Knives, yeah.
Yep. And his gang.
The Gung Ho Guns, yeah.
The Gung Ho Guns. And a lot of the second half of the series is Vash doing battle with the Gung Ho Guns, and where we kind of get more of the backstory of everything going on.
Funny little point of trivia for you. If you remember Scott Pilgrim, I, for the longest time, could not I just completely brain farted about who Knives Chow, like Scott's, girlfriend that he has in the in the comic.
Knives.
And so I just constantly was like, oh yeah, his girlfriend, Million Knives. Although, it's funny because that would have made the comic very different. Hey, Scott, let's go down to the hipster rave and kill people.
Yep. Absolutely.
I just want to share that. Sorry.
Very different kind of series that would have been.
Oh, yeah. It wouldn't have been a Gen Y love story. It would have been like some kind of Squarey 65 murder mystery.
And all in all, just first off, it's telling that we haven't really had that many good Westerns here in the West in a long time. And then this, Japanese author just puts pen to paper and gets a really good story told out of it.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. This is one of the better versions of like a cowboys versus aliens type story.
Except that the cowboy here is an alien, technically speaking.
Except that the cowboy is an alien. That's true too. Yeah.
Well, no. Okay. Spoilers. He's actually an artificial life form created through super powerful human technology because he's actually a plant. They say it like once in the entire thing, but that's the reason why he's able to do the things that he does, where he can be so precise in his shots that he can hit people, but it doesn't actually kill them.
Yeah, they're like interdimensional being, and the humanity ends up using them as like batteries to travel stars, searching for their new home. And that is still a criticism I do have of the anime. Going back, I feel like the Knives' motivation is obviously a little more fleshed out in the manga, in that it's not there. There's an entire kind of character kind of shows up in the manga that is really the one that is the catalyst that pushes Knives over the edge to be like, what, I don't identify with these humans and I don't like them, which is another plant that Vash and Knives happen upon when they're much younger, which was named Tesla. Basically like the car, but not the car.
To be perfect, because they barely mention it too, and it's worth noting. All the plants are. I think they mention. I think they show it once, maybe.
Yeah.
With the one episode where that one plant engineer is trying to blow up the plant, and you see Vash touching it, and it unfurls from the weird ball into this weird angel. In the manga, they're shown very much every single plant is this weird, beautiful angel woman, except for Vash and Million Knives. And so the entire thing is this very heavy Christian religious imagery throughout this series, up to the point that there even is an entire religion built around worshiping the plants as gods, which is the Nicholas D. Wolfwood's religion, actually.
Yeah. And Knives and Vash basically happen upon one of these other, basically Tesla, who's like a child plant thing, and she's gets basically mutilated through all their experiments that they kind of mentioned. But that's kind of part of the catalyst that pushes Knives over the edge versus him just kind of being angry.
As I recall, though, Cog, I think this can be forgiven though, because as I remember, the anime started. Because you got to remember, the original magazine that Trigun was in died basically after like the third volume. So you see Trigun, then you'll see Trigun Maximum. Trigun Maximum was when I think it went over to Young King R's, which is actually the magazine that not only did Excel Saga come from, but also ya boy Helsing. And so...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of in that lull because there was about a year and a half, which it was not in either magazine. And that's when the anime started. So I'm sure Yasuhiro Naito, the mangaka, like had notes and he's like, yes, this is the vision that I want to do. But I think he can be forgiven for that, just for that reason.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where I was like, it's one of those things that like it's fine. I think it still works that it's not there. It's just it would have been nice to have that little extra flesh out to Knives' character and his just overall motivation.
Oh no, I agree. Like I really love the part in Trigun Maximum where they actually explain like the entire thing with Wolfwood, which makes his entire like journey about like trying to help small children. And it turns out, whoop, I'm a child soldier too. It's just they did science on me, and now I'm fastly. They basically sped up my growth and metabolism, and that's the reason why I'm so good.
Yeah, because he had to like take the that's right. He had to take that stuff to I forgot what it's called, but yeah. I know what you're talking about. And so like, sorry, I'm gonna blow a little bit of wind out of Snek's sails here, but he really latched on to Wolfwood, and I'm like, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but he's gonna die, and he's like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, is he gonna be evil? It's like, no, he's a good guy. It's just he dies because basically his body is just overexerting itself because he took too many drugs because of his weird...
Of course.
He's basically a super assassin for this weird religion.
It's also his master, if I recall, was actually a gung-ho gun. So he's technically also a gung-ho gun in the manga, which they changed in the anime.
Yeah, Deadeye or whatever his name is, the one guy with the weird eye glasses.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny because if you look at them a certain way, it just looks like he's really high strung and those are actually his eyeballs. So he's just constantly like, ah.
I think that's the point. But yeah,
it makes him very unsettling, which I think is what they were shooting for. And on top of that, I want to say the Gung Ho Guns had a lot of really cool characters and they all get brushed under the rug in about an episode each. And that's kind of disappointing.
That's another kind of I find the Gung Ho Guns are really cool, and there are differences again with the manga and the anime because some of the Gung Ho Guns that appear in the anime aren't even in the manga. They were like just created for the anime, and they got some of them got switched out.
Right.
Yeah, like the last Gung Ho Gun, who is a transsexual woman, as I recall, who looks a lot like the Mateo from Galaxy Express 999. And that was like, that's such a weird thing, but I always see him as that. It's like, he, she, whatever. They don't show up at all in the anime, as I recall. And that's a funny thing because like, yeah, she and Legato have this like huge beef with each other and they're like constantly bantering. And that's like entirely absent, which I thought was really cool because you get to see a lot more of Legato's character through their interactions. And it's like, unfortunately we don't get that. He's just, ooh, I'm spoopy psychic man. Ooh,
So before we get too deep into spoiler territory, I wanted to ask okay, overall, favorite character?
Yeah, that's a tough question, man.
Yeah, this is one where like the whole cast is quite entertaining.
That is very true.
Yasuhiro Naito does a really good job. Like if you guys are familiar at all with Blood Blockade Battlefront, which is another one he did, he does a really good job of creating really memorable, really interesting characters.
That was actually one I recommended us watch several episodes ago.
It's pretty good. I'd watch that. I actually have collected a few of the manga volumes on that one. Pretty good stuff.
It is quite good, yeah.
But returning to Trigun, because that's an entirely different manga, different thing. I'd probably have to say Vash himself. Like I really liked him before, but I think I gained a new appreciation because it's been many years since I've seen the anime. What about you, Professor? This is your first time. We're popping your cherry here.
Vash is an excellent choice. He has this real big stage presence. Like every scene he's in, he owns, and he has this really broad range of his emotions. Like you see him at his lowest. You see him when he's like drunk and being goofy. And like when he puts his finger to the one ganger's back and the guy freaks out and he's like, I didn't think that was loaded. It's hard not to get caught up and to see this bloody-minded idealism that's not from naivete, but from genuinely wanting the world to be a better place. You can't help but root for this guy.
Yeah, and it's honestly kind of stemming from him wanting to make sure that the woman he kind of viewed as his mother, he didn't let her down. Which I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, I'd say Vash.
What about you, Cog?
If I have to nail down like my absolute favorite character for Trigun, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Mr. Snek. Vash's, his journey through the whole thing and how this shows very much, him. You see, like Snek mentioned, you see all the different aspects of his personality. He learns, he grows throughout the show. He has. He like we've talked about, he has this mantra of not killing. Eventually he has to get through that where he has no other choice but to kill someone. There is this sort of element to the show and that manga of like it's the back and forth with him and Knives with this just sort of almost a study that they do on like issues with the pacifistic ideology that Vash has to work through. It's extremely entertaining on just a lot of different levels, but I'm gonna have to side with Snek. He carries the show. I wouldn't say he carries the show. I mean, a lot of other characters are great. Wolfwood's great, but at the end of the day, Vash is the one that's got like he's got the style, like we mentioned, the intro scenes. He's just looking so cool, and then the fact that he's actually got this big personality that rivals his presence, his image and his presence and everything. It's hard to beat.
Yeah, that's surprising. All three of us together agreeing on something. That's actually really rare.
We actually agree on something for once. This is one for the record books.
It is known now. Make it written in Tomodachi history.
Dun dun dun.
So I'm going to start delving into spoiler territory because there's one scene in particular that I have to talk about. Because I actually kind of had to take pause for how powerful this scene was. It's when Wolfwood actually dies. And I knew it was coming, but they have this moment, and I know it happens differently in the manga. Dutaku actually kind of explained the scene to me. He's literally just bleeding out, walks into a church, literally bearing his own cross, kneeling at the altar, and he's like, "Am I a hypocrite for even coming here to talk to you?" It's like, oh, damn, I didn't realize it was raining inside today.
It's okay. It's okay, Snek.
It's the fizz from my soda got in my eyes.
Actually, the religious imagery gets even heavier in the manga because you'll see as Trigun Maximum goes on, you'll notice that Vash starts to have his hair darken, and that happens when a plant reaches the end of its lifespan. So Vash actually goes to confront his brother, and he literally is at the end of his life, and he sacrifices himself in order to take out Million Knives once and for all. It literally is Space Jesus gunfighting with Space Satan in order to save the human race. Yeah. So.
Yeah, using the and I mean that's going even more towards the imagery. That's his main gun is the angel arm is his big super like city destroying WMD weapon that both Vash and Knives have.
The imagery and metaphor is really heavy in the series, which I think is deliberate. I mean, you can just kind of see it throughout. No, I'd agree. It's good, and I kind of suspected that would happen, to be perfectly honest. I just thought it was kind of funny that even though I'm like, oh man, this is going to happen, and then it happened, I'm like, oof.
There's a lot of really powerful scenes, and I think that was probably the one that's going to stick with me for a long time.
this is one of my all-time favorites. It's definitely up there. It's a must-watch for pretty much anybody interested in anime or an anime fan. If you haven't watched it, it's fantastic. I even know that, like, Yasuhiro actually really enjoyed the anime as well. So that was also a plus. Like, that's something, like, despite the differences that you have in this case with the manga and the anime, I would say it doesn't hurt it as much. Like, they executed it so well that it's like it does its job in getting you interested in wanting to learn more about it, and then you get to kind of go to the manga and be like, oh, okay, and let's, like, then you get more of the fleshed out elements, I feel like.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. They're both good, but they're both good for different reasons, but that doesn't necessarily detract from the other. So can we talk about the music? Because hot damn, the music is fantastic. I love the soundtrack for this one.
Oh, yes.
I'm a huge fan of HT, the opening theme, but a bunch of the insert songs are great too. Probably my favorite is Never Could Have Been Worse, which is kind of the really slow Spanish guitar.
Oh, that's a great one, yeah.
I'd be hard pressed to narrow it down to one. The entire soundtrack is fantastic.
It does really great at just conveying the desert and Western moods a lot of the times, and it's quite good. Yeah.
The official name for the composer for this one is called Dr. Donuts, which I thought was really funny too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was looking it up on.
Oh no, here we go. Suneo Imahori. I apologize if I got that name completely wrong. Also known for Gungrave.
That's another Yasuhiro series that had a really awesome PS2 game too.
He's also contributed to Wolf's Rain and Cowboy Bebop.
That, I was about to say, that explains a lot, actually. Cowboy Bebop has very similar music. Yeah, it's about this time too. Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah, if you haven't seen Trigun, check out Trigun.
Absolutely.
You owe it to yourself. It is, as the newcomer, I say this is definitely jumped the ranks, and it's one I'm always going to love going forward.
I'm glad to hear you enjoyed this.
Actually, it's funny because he watched Outlaw Star immediately afterwards, and he's like, "This was good too."
Oh man, that's another one that is just fantastic.
That was also on the roulette, funny enough. So I'm like, hey, Taco had to do two, so I guess I have to do two.
Well, see, the funny thing was, what happened actually was I was just watching it because I hadn't watched the series in a while, and he's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Outlaw Star." Like, "Can I watch it with you?" I'm like, "Okay." I'm not going to say no to my bro enjoying one of my favorite anime, and basically my favorite anime.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Tataku there. If I had to rank one at the absolute top, I mean, Outlaw Star would be probably the contender.
Not Tenga Toppa Gurren Lagann.
Oh wait, I'm redacting what I just said because it's been a long day. But okay, gosh, I grew up on Outlaw Star, and then Gurren Lagann kind of came after, but they're kind of like right neck and neck.
I liked Outlaw Star a lot, but I wouldn't give it that high a praise. The series was fun and good, and I liked a lot of the characters. It had some severe pacing problems. They spend the first half of the series accomplishing nothing and then kind of rushing the latter half to make up for it. And I liked it. I love the characters. I actually do. I'm not hating. I'm just trying to be objective. It's just
no. I get you. I would have to politely disagree because I feel like you don't really get the ability to just go, okay, guys, we're going 90 miles a minute now, except for the fact that they set up a lot of stuff that was going on, introduced a lot of characters, had a lot of plot points. They foreshadowed a lot of stuff in those first 10 episodes.
The first 5 or so episodes, yes, there's a lot of screwing around.
Yeah, I don't know.
I liked the series for what it was, and I immensely enjoyed the characters in particular, which is what always keeps me hooked on any good anime. Asia Clan being a scene stealer in her own right,
which we later learned she actually is a member of parliament in Canada now, which I thought is just hilarious.
Her voice actress.
So are we turning this into a double episode for Outlaw Star?
Sort of. We'll keep this part brief because it's really was supposed to be focusing on Trigun. I just happened to have the time to enjoy both. And that way we can kind of do a quick overview. No, I enjoyed both immensely, and I'm like, oh hey, well, let's make it a point to do a Wild Arms Twilight Venom at some point.
Which that I'm gonna have to be the greenhorn on that one. I have never actually sat down and watched it. So, and I've heard it's good.
Way back when you were allowed to go outside, and brick and mortar stores still existed, there were places where you could rent movies and TV series and video games. I know this dates me because this puts me back in the late Cretaceous.
Gosh, Uncle Snek, that must have been back when dinosaurs were around.
It was. I rode my pet Triceratops. His name was Terry.
Yes, they weren't just confined to zoos like they are today.
Yes. Yes, I rode my Triceratops Terry, and back then you didn't need a license to own one. So we would go down to the rental store, Cog and me, and we actually, our local store had, I think, the first 2 DVDs of the series available.
That's right.
So we saw like the first 10 episodes. It wasn't until about 10 years later I was able to pick up the complete DVD collection from Amazon. It wasn't out there. I looked around for years and years and years and never found the thing. So that's something we can look forward to.
No, I'm interested to watch it, but I gotta watch the giant naked silver man blow up Godzilla.
Because I admit I got really into the Wild Arms like games. So
yeah, no, they're really good, underrated RPGs. Look forward to that on the Snek channel soon. That is on my list because I have a couple of the games on PS2. I have Alter Code F5 and 4, I believe.
Those play in because those are also kind of like Western games. We're talking about a Western anime, so
yeah, that'd be a good one. I'll definitely do that. I'll definitely do that soon.
There's the segue.
Might be on the Snek channel before this episode goes live, but we'll see. Any final comments? Any last thoughts?
I really like both series. I mean, I might be a little bit biased because I was a wee lad who had only watched Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon up to that point. I hadn't yet encountered the all-consuming, juggernaut that was Yu Yu Hakusho that would forever ruin my life and make me into a true weeb. But,
ruin your life.
See, the problem is that basically, that one thing that you loved as a kid, but you look back at it and you go, man, I was really freaking cringy about that. Like, I just was like obsessed about it. That for me is Yu Yu Hakusho.
Everyone has something like that.
I love the series. But every single time I watch it now, I'm like, ugh, and I'm like an inch shorter because I'm just cringing because I remember myself being really annoying about it. So
yeah, but you're a Pugum. You don't have bones.
I know, but I only have so much cartilage to go around, and then I have to go down to the rack, and then I get stretched out. So it's temporary loss of height, but it's still a loss of height.
If we're caught up, Cog, any last sayings?
This is definitely one I go back and watch fondly. It's not one I cringe at. As well as Outlaw Star. These are like, I grew up on these shows, and they are they're up there with my all-time favorite. Gurren Lagann still, that's my absolute favorite because I've watched that one more than any of the others. But if you're going to twist my arm, these are in the top 5. They're just, I love the characters. I love the stories. I love the way they play out. The execution is fantastic.
Oh, definitely.
Good picks, definitely.
I don't really have, other than the little criticisms I made about the manga, I don't have anything anything bad to say about it. So
right. And my final thoughts. Millie is my waifu. Millie is best girl.
Really does not surprise me at all. At all. At all. I mean, honestly, one of his earlier Let's Plays he basically wrote one of his healers for 7th Dragon 1 as Millie. So without even knowing who she was, he basically wrote Millie. So that doesn't really surprise me.
Without even knowing who the character was, even.
Which makes me question, okay, Mr. Snek, if you were to rate this series, where would you put it?
Oh, okay. We're going to give scores. I would give Trigun a 9 out of 10. It is fantastic. I would watch that one again and again and again. I think I take something new from it each time. I struggle to find fault apart from like some of the villains were really cool and I wanted to see them maybe get a little more developed and it didn't happen. And obviously the ending isn't the same as in the manga, and people might have a beef with that, but I thought the ending was satisfying regardless.
Yeah, the overall ending is more or less the same, but I mean, I get what you mean.
And so for Outlaw Star, I'd say it more than deserves an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
But like I said, my biggest complaint was it just was paced kind of weirdly, but it was immensely entertaining, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. All right, Cog, I'm going to send that ping pong ball back to you. What are your ratings?
I don't know. I would still give. I grew up on these shows. It's funny because we're talking about Outlaw Star as well. If we're gonna, they're both of these shows for me. Like I love the crap out of them, and they're like 9.8, 9.9s for me, and that's only because they're not Gurren Lagann.
I see.
They're up
Fair
there.
enough.
I just these are some of the earliest animes that I just really fell in love with, and going back and watching them, I still love them. I think they're great.
All right, Mr. Ditaku.
Trigun's a solid 9. I love it to death. Yeah, I understand. This is going to be one of those few times where, like, even though I am a giant contrarian hipster, I have to go, you know what? Even though it's different from the manga, I you know what? They're both good. They're both good for different reasons. I like both of them. I think that the dub, then in most cases I'll go, the dub kind of sucks, but here it's really awesome. I think everybody did a really good job. They really suit the characters. I can't really hate on it. The only reason why it's a 9 is because it's not like my super, super favorite. Outlaw Star, that's a solid 10 out of 10 for me. That is my favorite anime. Not my favorite manga, because we never got the manga, and that's for reasons. It is my favorite anime, and I mean, I am not ashamed to say I have stolen liberally from it on a number of occasions for my own writing, for little homages. But I look at that. The reason why I did that is because of a certain show, and that show was Outlaw Star. So it's had an effect on me. So yeah, those are my final thoughts.
All right.
So what are we doing next time, gentlemen?
Next time, I think we were talking about our Mecha Month.
I thought we were too. Oh, I completely forgot about that. Oh boy. Awesome. These are all good shows, guys.
So everyone, these are all going to be good shows, and we're going to do a themed block month, meaning all 4 of these shows are going to be done, and the only thing that we need to determine is the order in which they will occur. So gentlemen, please share with me your choices for Mecha Month.
My choice, Giant Robo, The Day the Earth Stood Still. That is the 1994 to 1999 OVA.
My choice is the Ruby Spears Mega Man animated series.
Oh, man. Are we going to just have to do a bunch of memes from that show? That's the opening.
Cog.
Yes, let's do Getaromo Armageddon.
Oh, that's right. And because it's been in the thing, it's been in the roulette for 3 times, and it's the very first recommendation by a listener. And we were going to have the last one be Overman King Geiner, right?
It's impossible for him to miss.
Yeah. So the thing is actually I talked to the listener because, he's my little brother, and he's actually agreed to be a guest for this series because this series, Overman King Geiner, is basically one of his favorite animes. So I'd really want to hear his input because he knows a lot about it.
All right, we have our order.
All right, let's do it.
We have 4 or King Gainer, 2 Mega Man, 3 Getter Robo Armageddon, and 1 Giant Robo.
Oh man, this is some good stuff.
So we have our order now.
Spin, wheelie, spin.
Next time's going to be Overman King Gainer.
Finally.
Have to brush off your monkey dance, everybody. Awesome. I'm pumped.
This is going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely.
I have not seen Overman King Gainer in some 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
But it's good because this is basically what Tomino did immediately after Turn A. So this is not angry Tomino. This is happy Tomino. Yep. And it's very much in the vein of Turn A too. So except it's not 52 episodes and not really, really ponderously slow.
Right. Should work out nicely. All right, gentlemen, it's a pleasure as always being with you.
Yep. Check out more. Tomodachi Bros are officially on the Snek channel. We decided to do the merger because honestly, it's all the same people working on the same projects. Also, we're really proud of what Mr. Snek has been doing. Our little Snek has been doing, growing his channel, and we're all coming in to help him and contribute.
Yeah, the professor is a fine nope rope.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Truly, I do.
So be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell icon.
Leave a comment down below telling us if you've seen these series or not and what you think. Were we on the mark, or are we now jumping the shark because we made fun of something you liked?
Definitely. And if you have recommendations, be sure to tell us either on Twitter or on our comments. Yeah.
And now on the Snek channel.
I read everyone. I try to respond to as many as I can.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Tomodachi Brothers Review Podcast, produced and recorded by the Hipster Snek, Deitaku, and Cog. Sound design and editing by executive producer Sean Taylor Brown with Cog Sound Engineering. Music written and performed by Sean Taylor Brown with Costas Vaz of Core Insight Studio on the drums. We hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.